Good morning and welcome to the second devotional of our 40 Days of Community at the Way Christian Center. Really glad you could join us this morning as we delve deeper into this conversation of what it means to be in community with God and with one another in a very meaningful and intentional way. I was reminded of a special that I saw on 60 Minutes several years ago surrounding people who have a rare condition called face blindness or prosopagnosia. And people with this condition actually don't have the ability to recognize people that they see every day on a reoccurring basis. So if you can imagine not being able to recognize your mom when you see her, or your child, or your spouse, or even your own face in the mirror day after day. And so people with this condition have to actually rely on other characteristics to recognize the people that they love and know. So they rely on hair and body type and style of clothing, but also the voice of people, like what their voice sounds like, what they say and how they say it. And if I'm honest with myself, I'm not sure that if the real flesh and blood Jesus walked into this room right now, that I would recognize who Jesus was. So we see that the disciples had the same issue after the resurrection. They were fishing and Jesus appeared to them on the shore, but none of them recognized who Jesus was. And then Jesus tells them to cast their nets on the other side of the boat because they weren't catching any fish. And when they did that, they were obedient. They caught more fish than their net could hold. One disciple, the beloved disciple, recognized after this command that this was Jesus. And he says, "This is Jesus." And everyone notices finally that it's Jesus, and they're able to share a meal with him. Now, this one disciple did not recognize how Jesus looked, but he responded to Jesus' voice and to Jesus' command and to the outcome of what it means to be obedient to God. And he knew who God was. And it was so amazing to me is that the others in his community, those disciples, relied on him. They knew him well enough to trust his judgment in that moment and to see what he saw. And so that means that they had spent a lot of time together. They knew each other, as just as this beloved disciple was able to know and recognize Jesus. And so I want us to really consider what it means during this 40 days to really, as we move intentionally further apart from what it means to be divided as a people, as we seek to focus on what we have in common. We listen to each other's stories. We get to know each other. We learn how to pray differently for each other. We also learn what each other's gifts are and how they work with ours to create transformation in the community. But also, what does it mean as we move into consecration next week to move further away from the things that separate us from God, such that we begin to get to know God in a different way, so that even when we cannot necessarily see God or feel God, we're still able to recognize the work of God and when God is near to us. And so our challenge this week from yesterday is to give gratitude and thanks for the things in our life and to focus on those things. But I would also like to add to that that we are seeking to really get to know each other and God in a way that we can recognize each other and God, and we can trust each other and God in a way that when we need it the most, we can rely on other ways of recognizing each other, many ways of recognizing each other, and wait to see what kind of transformational change can come out of that. So please have a great week. Take part in all of the other ways in which we're engaging this week through the prayer line and through live groups, through Bible study. And let's do this thing. Let's make this 40 days of community that lasts for the remainder of our time together as a community. Have a great week.